What is going on, YouTube? It's Reed with RCG Car Reviews here, and I know I've kind of been MIA for a little while, just trying to enjoy my Christmas break as much as I can, and it has been pretty crazy, believe it or not. But that's beside the point. Today we are going to be taking a look at all of the mods that I have done to my 2007 Mustang GT since I bought it. And so we'll go ahead and just jump right in, and if you hear paperwork shuffling, that's because I have a list over here that will hopefully keep me from rambling quite as much. So I bought the car August the 11th of 2015. This was a replacement for my 2013 Ford Fusion Titanium. That car had started to develop some pretty serious mechanical and electrical issues, so decided to part ways with that car and replace it with something a little more fun and what has proven to be a lot more reliable than the Fusion ever was. So the very first mod that I did to this car, and I'm trying to be as specific as I possibly can, this was August of 2015, like a day or two after I bought the car. I think it was the Thursday after I bought the car, actually. I went up to O'Reilly Auto Parts and picked up a K&N drop-in air filter. I had not checked the factory air filter on the car before I bought it and took it home. And whenever I got it home, opened up the air box and saw that the factory filter was pretty clogged. The car may as well have been breathing through a straw. So the K&N drop-in filter definitely helped, and those are reusable filters as well, which is very nice. So you can spray those out and knock all the dirt and bugs and crap that get in those, and re-oil those and use them time and time again, which was really nice. I had to clean it one time, and that was about it. So the next thing that I did to the car was in September of 15, and this was two things that I did to the car, and both of these were because the car, when I bought it, really did not look like anything special. It was just kind of like, it was just a white Mustang GT. It was a spoiler delete car from factory, so it really wasn't anything special to look at. It had the base model 17-inch bullet wheels. They weren't even the gray finished ones that a lot of these cars have. So just decided to kind of make the exterior of this car my own, and I think overall I've done a pretty good job of doing that. But the first mod that was a part of that, glad she stopped. I thought I was about to get T-boned. But the first mod that was a part of that is the MMD rear deck lid blackout panel. MMD, Modern Muscle Design. It's basically just American Muscle's off-brand, and they make cheap visual stuff for the Mustang. So added that and thought I was going to be getting a gloss black blackout panel. I had originally wanted to order the magnetic one, but I was like, yeah, that thing's going to vibrate around and tear up my paint, and I don't want to do that. So I went ahead and ordered the MMD more permanent blackout panel. I'll insert a picture of it here. And I got it, and it was like see-through acrylic gray, and I was like, what the heck is this? Like, this isn't what I ordered. And lo and behold, that's how it is. I guess I hadn't analyzed the pictures enough, and the description was very misleading. If it were on a darker colored car, it definitely would have worked. But it had a gray, it just looked gray on the car. And so I left it for quite a while, and it really didn't bother me all that much. So, and got quite a few compliments on it, but the only bad thing was the adhesive that came with it was only on the top side and the bottom side, which was really weird. So whenever I would be driving like on the highway and in the rain and stuff, you could tell, nice rock, you could tell that there was dirt and road grime and all that crap getting behind that little blackout panel, and you could see it, so that really bothered me. But I held on to it as long as I could, and now I've got that fixed, and I'll go over that in just a little bit. The next thing that came onto the car, again, it was a spoiler delete car from factory. I wanted to add a spoiler to it, and was originally just going to order the regular old little wing spoiler that the GTs came with. But I was talking to a lot of people, and they were like, oh no, don't do that, that's ricey, it doesn't look quite as good, and you should do a ducktail. And I was like, okay. So I browsed American Muscle's website and found the 3D carbon unpainted ducktail wing, and Had it painted by my uncle, who owns Wood Collision Center in Mineola. Quick little pitch: if you ever need any body work or paint work done, he's the guy to take you to if you're in the East Texas area. He did a great job and charged me the cost of 5 cases of water bottles. So that was very nice of him to do that, and he did a great job on it. And I'm really, really happy with the spoiler, and everybody else seems to be too. I get a lot of compliments on it. It's not your typical wing spoiler you see on a Mustang. It's not ricey. It's just enough to offset their back end a little bit and just make it stand out, which is exactly what I'm going for with this car. Just the whole theme. I'm not trying to do anything that's super in your face or loud or obnoxious or anything like that. I'm just having fun making it my own, I guess. And so that was the second thing, or the third thing, I guess, that I did to the car. Now, I installed that blackout panel, and of course my uncle at Wood Collision Center, he's the one who installed the rear lip spoiler, or not the lip spoiler, the ducktail, just because he's got a much better eye for how things are supposed to line up and stuff like that. And it was actually a pretty easy install. It's held on by 3M adhesive tape, and I'm not super happy with how that's held up with the temperature changes here. It'll range. In the summertime, it can be 100+ degrees here in East Texas, and then in the wintertime, you can have days like today and yesterday where it barely gets above freezing. So the temperature changes don't really do well with 3M double-sided tape in my experience. So the next thing that I did to the car came in November of 2018. It was, I believe it was the week right before or right after Thanksgiving. I think it was right before. I had known for quite a while that I wasn't really happy with the wheels on this car. I didn't like the way that they looked, and the tires that were on the 17-inch Gullet wheels were the same same Pirelli all-season tires that the car left the factory with back in November of 2006. Aside from the right front one, that one was a brand new one that the previous owner had to replace due to it having a slow leak in it for some reason. So the tires were completely dry rotted, extraordinarily hard rubber. The very first time I drove this car in the rain, I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? This car is going to end up being the death of me. And there were a few instances where it was very close. It was sketchy to drive in the rain. And of course I never had the opportunity nor the desire to drive those tires on any kind of wintry inclement weather. So I found on Craigslist a set of, or the set that's on the car now, they're 18-inch polished California Special style bullet wheels. These are the wheels that came on all the California Special. These are not the rare chrome ones. The chrome ones are very rare and very hard to come by. These are just the polished finish, which I'm completely fine with. There's not a whole lot of bright chrome on the car, and I'm afraid I would have a nightmare of a time keeping chrome clean. These are already pretty hard to keep clean. But I put those on the week before Thanksgiving of 2015, and absolutely love the way that they look on the car. They do, I mean, this is what this car should have had from the factory, especially with the white paint and kind of like the white and black theme that I'm going with it. It just looks really, really good in my personal opinion. The wheels were a huge change, and they came in a set of 255/45 R18 tires. They were Continental Extreme Contact DWS tires, and I was really concerned that the tires were going to look really marshmallowy on the rims, just because the factory width is a 235, but they really didn't. I've had to change tires since then, and I'll get to that again in a minute. And I kept the 255 size. It gives the car a much better stance, especially now that it's lowered, and the car obviously has better traction. And these cars don't really do traction anyway, so anything you can do to tighten the back end up as far as rubber hitting the road definitely helps. So following the wheels, there was an instance where I had to do a very hard stop from highway speeds, and that boiled the brake fluid that was in this car. I don't think the brakes had ever been touched. They may have once, I'm not sure. I didn't have that maintenance history on the car. I did have all the oil changes and stuff like that, so I knew everything had been done well mechanically as far as engine goes. But I did do a brake job in December of 2015. The pedal, before I did the brake job after the boiling, had to go pretty much straight to the floor before it would even stop the car. So that was sketchy, to say the least. It definitely wasn't fun, especially if the roads were wet. You had to plan your stops very well ahead. So I did a set of centric blank rotors. I was going to do like a set of dimpled and slotted rotors or whatever, and I was like, I don't really need that. I'm not doing anything with the car that's going to require that much cooling. So I did a set of centric blank rotors, Hawk HPS brake pads, and did a full fluid flush on the brake fluid. I believe it's .3 fluid that I put in there, and it was just whatever I could find at AutoZone. And it was a friend and I who did that brake job, and that was not very fun. That was probably a one and done deal for me. Next time this car needs brakes, I'm hoping I'll be able to afford to pay somebody to do it, because that sucked. I don't know if it was just me being a noob at doing brakes or what, but that was really not fun. But afterward, the car stops a whole lot better. I have good pedal pressure, pedal feel is great too, and the only thing that I don't like about the brakes on the car is the fact that the fronts especially dust a lot, but that's kind of what you get with the high performance pads, and the right rear one, for some reason, squeals pretty bad, especially when it's cold outside. But again, high performance brake pads tend to do that. And so, after the brake job on the car, I ordered a set of 2 new rear Continental DWS tires, same size, again, the 255s, because whenever I bought these wheels and tires, the 2 rears had clearly been roasted pretty good. Mustang owner, whoever had them before, was doing what Mustang owners like to do, and that was a lot of burnouts. So, the 2 rear tires were not in good shape when I bought them, so I went ahead and replaced those with just a set of new. And as far as those tires go, at first I was pretty happy with them because I was coming from the dry rotted Pirellis. But then whenever I got to spending more time with them and kind of trying to tear up a back road or anything like that, and not even tear up a back road, I didn't trust the car as far as I could throw it, honestly. The tires kind of fell flat on their face. They were great in the rain. Again, haven't had the chance to drive this car in any snow or slush or anything like that, so I can't say anything as far as the car or any tires as far as that goes. But they were good in the rain. They were decently quiet-ish. This really isn't a quiet car to begin with. The sound insulation is, there's just not a whole lot of it. That's just par for the course with a Mustang. But really wasn't a fan of them, and I'll continue that here in just a few minutes. So once those tires were installed, the car stayed as it was for quite a while. So that had the brake job, the rear end aesthetic stuff, and the wheels and tires and whatever other things I mentioned. And so the next mod came in March of 2015, and what that was I did the MBRP Installer Series ALUMINIZED AXLEBACK exhaust. That was purchased from LateModelRestoration.com, LMR.com, and I installed that myself. That was a pretty easy install. I had one of the factory exhaust hanger bolts shear off for some reason. I'm not really sure why that happened, but it did. And then once I got the exhaust on, I couldn't get it aligned quite right, so I took it to a shop and they just kind of tack welded it a little bit so it lined up a little bit better. It still doesn't line up great. I apologize if the sun is coming straight into this camera. I feel like it is. But after the exhaust, about a week later, somebody at TJC, the college I was attending at the time, sideswiped my car right behind the driver's door. I'm sure you've seen pictures of it or heard me make mention of it before. Right there on that crease behind the driver's door, left a nice dent and split the paint right there on the rear fender. So that was incredibly obnoxious. I was more than pissed. I spent about 5 hours in all the school parking lots tracking down a car that had a scrape on the side right at the same height that mine would have been. I went up there with like tape measures and everything. I was like, how far is this dent off the ground of my car? How far are these other cars? And of course, nobody left a note, and naturally I didn't find anything because I'm sure whenever that happened, the person bailed very quickly. So that's extremely irritating. I mean, this car was in very, very good it is what it is. It's a daily driver. It's bound to get some dings and nicks here and there, especially being parked on a college campus like that. And so the following things that went on with the car happened July of 2016, which is when my 21st birthday was. For my 21st birthday, I got the custom license plates, and then I ordered myself the set of Ford Racing K-springs, which dropped the car about 1.5 inches. And at that time, I had to do the GT500 upper spring seats as well, because the factory spring seats, whenever you undo them, I have heard rumor enough to cause concern that whenever they're undone, the bolts just kind of tend to explode on those. So that wasn't super exciting. That was, yeah, no fuel line. That wasn't the greatest thing to have to order. Those were about 150 extra bucks that I didn't need to spend. And then of course I had to do the BMR adjustable rear panhard bar to get the rear axle centered back up underneath the car. And that I was pretty happy with all of those mods together. The springs dropped the car 1.5 inches all the way around. It didn't really increase or decrease the amount of brake that the car has. I kind of like the rear end to sit just a tiny bit higher. It kind of has that muscle car stance. I don't know. You can let me know in the comments whether you like the stance or not. But personally, I'm a fan. I think the lowering made the car look 1,000,000 times better. The factory ride height was so bad. I'll insert a picture here of a friend of mine. He has a 2003 Terminator Cobra, and his is on coilovers, and my car was on factory suspension. We were in Dallas Cars and Coffee, and the wheel gap was pretty atrocious. It was bad. So decided to lower it, and that was a pretty good handling increase. I actually did even do an autocross on it, at least one autocross, it may have been 2, whenever it was on the factory strut with the, with the lowering springs, and it did pretty well. I was impressed for what it was. I mean, of course the factory struts were still kind of but they were okay. They got the job done, and it was a lot of fun and looked great in my opinion. So in July, let's see, what else did I do? Did I do anything else in July? All of that suspension stuff I did install myself. I installed the front and rear springs. That's a job and a half. And I installed the spring seats, obviously, because that was super easy to get to and had to be undone anyway. And so the only thing that I wasn't able to install on that job was the rear panhard bar. For some reason, I could not undo the bolts from the rear panhard bar. I had my full body weight hanging on that panhard bar, and it wasn't budging. So I took it up to the alignment shop, and they were able to do that for me for like 40 bucks they charged to put that on. So I was like, $40 well spent. So they did that. A&B Brake and Alignment is the shop that I use to do all of my alignment stuff, and if there's anything that I can't put on, they do it for a great price. So again, if you're in the East Texas area, hit those guys up. They're awesome, great Christian people. They no BS, anything like that. They're super fair, very reasonable. So after the lowering springs and all of the suspension stuff was installed, in September of 2016, I did a transmission fluid flush on the car just because the shifts were starting to get pretty notchy. The car had about 47,000 miles at the time. It's got almost 52,000 now. And the shifts were starting to get pretty notchy. It would occasionally try to lock me out of gear, which was not a lot of fun, especially if I was trying to shift it really quickly. So I went and decided to do a transmission fluid flush, which I did myself. I just got some, whatever the best fluid was that AutoZone had, and have been really happy with that. Let's do a little acceleration. As you can tell, it is definitely cold outside, and these tires are not hooking in the cold. Nothing's really hooking in this cold weather. But the power is definitely, I can feel a little bit more pep in it, and I'll get to that in a minute as to why that is. So anyway, did the transmission fluid flush and haven't had any trouble. The fluid flush really wasn't all that bad. I may or may not have ruined the garage floor a little bit with a stain, but ATF is a cleaner. I mean, I made the floor cleaner, although Mom didn't quite buy that one like I did. So come October of 2016, the factory shocks and struts had really started to go by that point. That was after at least one autocross, and I'm thinking it was probably 2. In fact, I know it was 2. It was not doing so well. I begun to hear quite a few clunks from the shocks and struts. The ride had gotten super springy, didn't really feel like it was being dampened at all. So I was like, all right, let's get some better stuff on there. And started looking, and I wanted to do the Kona yellows because they're adjustable, but they are like $800 for a set, and I was like, no, absolutely not. So ordered a set of Kona orange shocks and struts, and also had to order 2 new front outer tie rods. I'm sure you all saw that. It's a suspension install video. And that really didn't go all that well. The front was fine, but the rears, for some reason, kept stripping bolts on the rear end, or the rear shocks, and thought, nah, I'm done with this. This is better to let A&B handle it. So, got all that dialed in, and at the time that I did the shocks and struts, like I said, I did the 2 outer tie rods because they were shot. It's a common failing point on these cars. They don't hold up. So I went with about the beefiest stuff that I could find. I think it's Moog brand, M-O-O-G. I'd never heard of them before, but apparently they make decent stuff, and what I put on the car was substantially better than what was on it. So that is, hopefully, all of the shocks and struts and tie rods and suspension stuff should be set for quite a while. And about this time, I was driving home from school one night after a tutoring session or study group or something, and the low tire pressure light came on. It wasn't cold outside or anything like that, and I thought, what the heck? So pulled over and checked, and my right rear tire was down to 26 PSI. And I thought, well, crap, that's not good. So got the car home, lifted that side up, took that wheel off, and found a nail in the sidewall. And of course, when you have a nail in the sidewall, that can't be fixed, unfortunately. And like I mentioned earlier, I was not a fan of the DWSs anyway. And they don't make the DWS anymore, they make the DWS-06. And the tread pattern is similar, but with the weak points that are already built into the suspension on these cars, I decided I'm not running a set of mismatched tires on here. It's just not going to happen. So I decided to have all 4 of the DWSs taken off of the car, or all 3 remaining good ones, sold those, and ordered a set of General G-Max AS03 tires. And I'm sure some of you are like, why did you not just get a summer tire? I've done almost 30,000 miles in the year and a half that I've had this car. I would rather not have, that's not going to happen. Actually, no, forget my math there. I've done over 20,000. There's a reason I'm a nursing major and not engineering. But I definitely did not want to do summer tires just because I blow through tires with as many miles as I drive anyway. These had great reviews. They're 480 treadwear, so they're pretty sticky when they can be. They're great in the rain, and I'm super happy with these tires, and these will definitely be what I'm putting back on it. Oh, that doesn't get old. So that was an unexpected $500 that was spent extra in addition to the already lump sum that was being spent on the suspension. So yay, that was super exciting. So following the tires, the next thing that I did was the black plastic dip on the bottom of the front bumper. I don't know if any of you have seen the car in videos since then or not, but I did do some black plastic dip down there just to kind of make it resemble the California Special front end and protect the front bumper a little bit from paint from paint chips anyway, which is extremely prone to. Thank you for making paint out of Elmer's glue for it. Anyway, so the plastic dip, I really like it. It's kind of a hit or miss opinion, but I think it works well with the black and white theme that I've got going with this car. And that happened in November of 2016. So come December, I decided that I wanted to change all the bulbs on the outside of the car to LEDs. And I'm sure you saw that install video. That was pretty expensive actually, but I got LEDs that already had resistors built into them. So that was definitely that was pretty nice. I really think that dressed up the exterior of the car quite a bit. And the next thing I did was the air raid cold air intake on this car. And I'll get on it here just a little bit again and take a listen and see if you can tell a difference. I certainly can. So that was a pull about all the way through first and second, about halfway through third gear. Shut up, car. And you can definitely hear a lot more induction noise in person. I don't know if the camera audio is picking that up or not. I certainly hope so. But that's why I was saying when it's cold outside, the car definitely feels a little more perky. And most of you probably know that these cars, whenever you do a cold air intake, most of them you have to do a tune. This one has the modular Venturi restrictor tube with it, so I'm not having to run a tune right now. That's probably coming next summer whenever I have a more full-time job and stuff like that. And so I'm looking forward to getting it tuned, but for right now I'm having a lot of fun. It sounds great, and it definitely did add a little bit more perk to the car for sure. So the next thing after the air intake was I took that blackout panel off of the back end of the car, and I cleaned up under there really good. Getting it off of the back of the car was a huge pain in the butt. It was held on with that 3M adhesive tape, and it was very, very stuck. I broke quite a bit of fishing line trying to get it off. But I took that off and plastic dipped the back side of it and then re-stuck it on the back of the car, and ran more tape around the side. So hopefully nothing gets back there, but if anything does, you won't be able to see it because it's black. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I think that looks a whole lot better than it did before with that dingy gray, whatever the heck that was. I wasn't super happy with that. And the next thing that I did is, this was, let's see, this was actually just a few days, actually 2 days ago from when this is being filmed, probably 3 or 5 days ago whenever you're seeing this video. My best friend and his girlfriend got me for Christmas a set of black front marker lights, and that replaces the turn signal and side marker lights on the car. Don't know why I'm getting K-band, but that replaces the orange strip that was there on the front of the car that really stuck out like a sore thumb, and they are just a smoked lens now with a smoked background, and I think it really does look a whole lot better than it did before. And I was completely shocked at how big of a change that made. That was installed by me and my best friend, and I'm just super happy that I have that. They look awesome. And then the last thing that I have done to date is, because I had those black turn signal, or the smoke turn signal housings put in, for those of you who remember the LED install bulb, the bulb that I put in the front side marker lights, they were white LEDs. And I was not aware until I did that LED install that the front turn signal bulb itself actually glows a little bit whenever you have the front lights on. I wasn't worried about that because I was like, well, the front turn signal bulbs aren't going to be on, you're just going to see the white on the front and it's going to look fine. But then whenever I saw, come on, Gate, then whenever I saw that the front turn signal bulbs glow orange while those are on white, my OCD couldn't handle it and ordered a set of orange bulbs to stick there in those side markers. That way they'll glow orange but still have the clear housing. So I think that does look a whole lot better, and just brings the uniformity that I'm looking for with this car. And that really is what I'm after with this car. I'm not, like I said, I'm not wanting anything that's super shouty in your face. Look at me, look at how big my car is, look at how loud, look at how fast, whatever, anything like that. Of course I want more power, and you always have the power. It's just part of being a car guy. but I want something that's a fun, reliable, easy daily driver, and that's exactly what this car is. It's simple, it's crisp, and it has my name all over it, literally. Like, for those of you who know me in person, the car, it looks like what I would do to a car, if that makes any sense. I'm not super flashy or showy or anything like that, but I want it to look good. I want it to be set apart from the crowd, and I think that's exactly what I've done. So actually, one more thing that I did do is I installed a set of Sylvania Silver Star fog light, as well as headlight bulbs, just to get a more uniform color, a brighter white output, and was super happy with those. I actually did that yesterday and drove it at night last night, and they look really, really good. So anyway, guys, I hope you all have enjoyed this video. I apologize that it got a little bit more long-winded than I thought it would be, but I figured you all would like to kind of know what has happened with the Mustang in the past year and a half that I've had it. Thank you all so much for watching. Be blessed, be a success in everything that you do, and have a great day.